Hello folks, this is Sullla again. I wanted to give followers of the channel some of my thoughts about the League of Legends matches played today for IEM Kiev. Now, I had said before that I wanted to try to stream some of the matches and do some commentary on them, but as I found out today, IEM actually does not allow people to restream their broadcast content, and I can actually understand why that is due to the advertising money involved and the fact that they need to satisfy their sponsors, but it is actually illegal for you to restream their content, so I unfortunately was not able to do that today. But I did watch the matches, and there was some pretty interesting stuff. You can find the matches. I believe that they're going to be uploaded on YouTube, and if not, you can find it through the League of Legends website. They should have those videos if people want to go watch them. So not the greatest day in terms of matches, but there was still some interesting stuff here. Games were being played on Victor patch, so not the most recent patch, but the patch that we've been on for League of Legends for most of the past month or so. So a couple things that came out of it. It was a really good day for Team Solomid. They did win all of their matches, and they won their Group A. The other team that's going through into the semifinals is SK Gaming, so that's not really a surprise. Solomid and SK were the two big favorites in their group, and they did both advance. So really the most interesting match of the day was when the two of them played one another. Everybody really did expect that they would be the two to go through the group. So a couple things that I saw from the matches, a couple things I want to point out. Solomid did a really interesting thing with their bans today. I thought that they were really smart in terms of what they were doing with their bans. What they would do is they had first pick in the game against SK, and what they did was they did sort of normal bans with their first two picks, first two bans, the sort of things you would expect to see, banning, noted junglers or noted AP carries, that sort of thing. Then with their last ban, their third ban, they banned Soraka, and then they first picked Sona. And they did that against both Curse and also against SK, and it proved to be really effective. So the reason why they were doing that is they recognize that Sona and Soraka are the two strongest supports in the game right now. And I'll say more on this in a minute because this is something that people have been discussing in the comments to some of my videos. They knew that Sona and Soraka were the strongest supports, so what they did was they banned Soraka and then they first picked Sona. And by doing that, they forced the other team onto a much weaker support. And in both cases, in both of those games, the other team ended up picking Janna. So they were able to force the other team into a weaker support, and then that would allow their bottom lane to just really dominate. And in fact, in both of the games I saw, Chaos was able to get a really strong laning matchup and just completely dominate bottom lane. So I thought that that was really clever in what they were doing. Now, in both of those games that Solomid played, again against both SK and against Curse Gaming, in both games, they were able to get really strong laning pairings. They were able to get Sona Graves in the first game, and then they were able to get Sivir Sona in the second game. So Sona paired with Graves and Sona paired with Sivir, and those are both really, really strong lanes. Those are some of the strongest lanes possible. Again, this is before the patch, most recent patch that just nerfed Graves. So really strong lanes, and in both cases, they were up against Vayne Janna bottom lanes. Both SK and Curse ran Vayne Janna. And the result was that both of those lanes just got absolutely destroyed by Solomid. Now, this is something that Varus and I actually tested, I think about 6 weeks ago. We tried to test playing Vayne Janna, and it's just not a good lane. Vayne Janna doesn't really have a lot of synergy, doesn't work very well, and that was really on display today in seeing how Solomid just absolutely crushed these Vayne Janna bottom lanes. So I don't suggest playing that lane, and I have had some comments in videos. I've been pretty straightforward in saying that I think that Sona and Soraka are the strongest supports. A lot of people have been saying, hey, Janna's really good. Well, I like Janna, but the results from these games really show that the competitive scene does not value Janna in the same way as Soraka and Sona. And in fact, every single game that Janna was played in, she lost today. So again, I know it's a small sample size, but if you've been watching the high level streamers for a long time now, it's pretty obvious that Sona and Soraka are considered by far above the other supports in terms of their values. So anyway, just a couple more things. I don't want this video to drag on too long. Some other stuff I noticed. CV, Clairvoyance, is back on supports again. I thought that we might see this. It's just so useful in a tournament setting for real high-level play. People have been running heal and flash on supports, but CV was back, and in fact, it was on all the supports all day. So I thought that that was pretty interesting because we haven't been seeing that in a lot of solo queue, but in a tournament environment, CV more highly valued. And then the other thing that was really funny is in the TSM SK game today between Solomid and SK, they kept swapping their lanes over and over again. They kept swapping their top lanes and mid lanes because SK was trying to avoid a matchup of Aurelia against Teemo, And so they kept trying to swap their lanes to avoid that, and then Solomid kept swapping it right back. So I think they swapped their lanes about 6 or 7 times in the first 10 minutes of the game, and it was really funny. But anyway, that's about all I have to say for today. It was some interesting games, really. If you want to watch the games, the one between SK and Solomid, probably the most interesting one. Solomid just outpicked SK. They really beat them on the champion select screen. They just had better picks, they had better lanes, and by running Sivir alongside Sona, they just completely crushed the bottom lane of SK. And Chaos was just able to beat Candy Panda because he had the advantage in the laning matchup. So anyway, going to leave it off here. Probably try to talk a little bit more tomorrow if I have a chance to watch the matches. Until next time, take care, guys. See you soon.